What's up, Internet? I'm Daniel, the Pitch Professor, and I have, well, you've guessed by now, a new pitch to dissect. Why do I dissect pitches? Because that's what I do. I am a professional pitch trainer. I'm a public speaker, moderator, and entrepreneur. I've seen thousands of pitches in the last years, more than a decade, to be honest. And I've just kind of come to the conclusion it's even more fun dissecting pitches in public, putting them in the public space where they shall stay forever, to open myself to criticism, feedback, and constructive learning together with you, that you and me, and well, you get the idea, that we can learn together, and to also create a knowledge base for striving entrepreneurs. So Dragon's Den, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? I like them a lot. And I found a video that very much caught my attention. It says, Peter praises green-thumbed entrepreneur. And I have a lot, but I do not have green thumbs. I look up plants and they instantly die. So I thought, I might want to learn something here. Let's jump right in. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe. That makes me incredibly happy. And if I'm happy, I continue on making videos. If not, well, I still continue. But, you know, just make me happy. That would be amazing. And the algorithm as well. Okay, I'll shut up. I'll get my tools of the trade. And let's roll the video. Boom.
Last to face the Dragons is Northumberland-based entrepreneur Dan Robson.
I've always dreamed about possibly entering the Dragon's Den, so I think it's very strange actually being here today. It's a bit of a shell shock, to be honest with you.
If Dan can clinch a deal, his business will be on the up. But for now, he's keeping his eyes firmly down.
Small comment there. I like seeing the way he prepares. I like the way he's going over his pitch. And here is a pro tip. Don't go through your lines, but rather think, what is it I want to achieve? And then you say, okay, I have, just for the fun of it, I have 2 minutes with Tim Cook, and I'm looking for $50 million. Understood. So before you go into the arena, before you step into the ring, understand what it is you want to achieve. And if you know why you want to achieve it, and if you know why you can prove that this makes perfect sense, and if in your head you know this is exactly what it is you need, then it's easy. Not easy, but what I'm saying is be 100% sure of the target you're trying to hit. If not, it's very hard to hit a target. And I know so many people that go on pitch because they're, oh, my button just opened. It's just stretched. I know a lot of people that just pitch without having a fair understanding what it is they need. So go through it, understand this is what I need, that's what I want to do. Concentrate on your breathing, inhale, exhale, try and calm yourself, focus, stretch a bit, you know, just whatever it is. But just the same way as before you'd be doing sports. And then understand it's perfectly normal to be nervous. It's awesome. Just your breathing is going to go up and you want to speak as quickly as possible. And what I'd like you to do is the polar opposite. Try and calm down, drink a bit, and try and talk really slowly when you start off. I hope Dan, I think that's his name, I hope Dan does that.
My biggest fear about going into the den is a lot of my friends watch this show, so I just better make sure my flies are up, I think.
That helps. Yeah, also check your pants and that kind of stuff.
Hello, Dragons. I'm Dan Robson, and I'm the Managing Director and co-founder of Grow So Simple, a design and manufacturing business based in Newcastle upon Tyne. And I'm here today with one simple mission, to get dirt under the fingernails of all the households in Great Britain. We're going to do that through our innovative technologies in the gardening kits.
I got to jump in there. I loved his mission statement. To get dirt under the fingers of every household in the UK. Dirt under the fingers of every household in the UK. I love that because he makes it clear what he wants to do. He wants to make gardening accessible to everyone. And understand that when you go in there, people go like, who is he? What does he want? A lot of people go in there at 100 miles an hour, talk complicated stuff, but their brains aren't focused yet. Their neocortices aren't locked in, yet their brains are still somewhere not fired up. Our brains do not want to concentrate. Our brains like thinking about Stupid stuff. Watching clown videos on Instagram. Puppies doing wild shit. And we're like, oh, this is so funny. Our brains do not like concentrating. But if we give them something, we say, look, it will pay off if you concentrate. It's totally worth it because I've got something that's going to really excite you. Then we manage our way into the neocortex of our listener. If not, you might know the Simpsons episode where he decides to go to clown college. If not, look it up. Not now, but you will. And everything Homer sees as clowns, you don't want that. Now, back to it. As soon as he dished out his one-liner, I want that there's dirt under the fingernails of every household in the UK, you had two specific smiles. Strong reactions. Especially Deborah Meaden and Tuka were both like, I like that. I like that. By the way, never pitch alone. Just saying. I kind of repeat myself, but still, you want to see that feedback.
We believe whether in a third-story balcony or an allotment garden, people should have access to growing their own fresh fruit and vegetables and eating plant to plate.
Lovely.
I'm
see
here
that?
today to ask for £80,000 for 10% equity of Grow So Simple. Earlier this year, we rolled out into 144 Asda stores across the country. And I'm hoping that I can encourage you to join my green gardening revolution.
That was a good pitch. I thought it was a strong opening with a one-liner. Well, he didn't state the problem as such, but we kind of understand it because, look, gardening, he said where he wants to make it accessible to third-story buildings. And I don't know what else he said. Something. You see, my brain is like your audience's brain. I kind of hear a part, although I'm sitting notes, although I'm concentrating, although I'm filming a video to give feedback on pitches, I still forgot half. And this is an important lesson. Even though a person like me, a professional pitch trainer, is shooting a video for a global audience, and I'm taking notes, I've forgotten half after about 20 seconds. So, your audience is going to be even worse than that. Therefore, your pitch has to be absolutely rock stupid simple. What's his mission? And now at this point, just for that very second, pause this video and try and repeat Dan's pitch. And you'd probably see that all that stuck was the dirt under your fingernails. Make it dirt stupid simple and more simple. And more simple, because we're not able to repeat much more than that. Anyhow, I like his mission. I like the way he states the problem he's trying to solve. I like the way he didn't quite show his solution yet, but the way he says what his markets are. And I also like the way just the simplicity he gave and the way he also offered us traction numbers. He said they're in 144 Asda stores in a specific period of time and how much he's looking for, 80K. And that's what you want to do when you say in one sentence what the problem is, how big the problem is. I always like that. I call it the BFN, the big effing number. Show your solution. Don't explain why it works. Just show your solution. Tell us where you're roughly at, your next major steps, and what it is you're actually looking for. That's the elements of a good pitch. Let's see what the real experts have to say. By the way, I think you're experts as well, so just comment just for the fun of it. I really would love that.
Eco-friendly seed kits for growing fruit and veg are the offering from entrepreneur Dan Robson.
You should have a seed cell, so I've got mine here. It's a biodegradable pod containing seeds.
Dan is looking to give away 10% of his company.
All you need to do is simply push into the soil, water,
in return for an £80,000 investment.
As the moisture is absorbed into the pulp, it feeds it to the seed, it starts to break down and leaves zero waste.
Tech titan Peter Jones is always on the lookout for something new. So does his appetite for innovation extend from screens to greens?
Small thing. I think there's a group of people who are really good at product presentations, and that's flight attendants. I know it sounds weird, but if you're thinking, how do I present my product? Channel your inner flight attendant. What that I mean is really oversimplify and over-exaggerate the use. Not the result. But I'm saying, we say, you put it in there and then you put water on top. Well, there's my hand. That's the hand you want to have. And then you put water on top and then there you have it. Kind of just that it's clear that you're leading people through something that their brains have time to understand what's going on. And ideally, you let them do it themselves, because that's when magic happens. When people hold your product in hand, you say, you take this, you put it in there, and you do this, and that happens. You kind of get them hooked a little bit. It's super smart. Then again, just watching the product, it's like, essentially, is it a paper bag with seeds in it? Which, I mean, it's convenient.
Dan,
Hi, Peter.
I've not seen anything quite like this.
Yeah, it's very unique. We believe we're the only completely biodegradable pod in the world.
Have you protected it?
Sure, so the seed cell product is actually patented. That's granted in the UK and Europe.
Okay, so give me some ideas then of the size of the business.
So 2019, we turned over 77,000 with a net loss of £168,000.
2020?
2020, we had a £254,000 turnover and a £17,000 net profit. 2021, we had a £314,000 turnover with a £30,000 net loss. This year, we'll close on a £335,000 turnover with a £172,000 gross profit and a £50,000 net.
Congratulations in putting something together that's very impressive.
Thank you, Peter.
Praise from Peter Jones.
And there you see it again. Have your numbers at the ready, number one. And number two was give the audience an understanding what your IP is. What is your intellectual property? What is it that you actually have to protect? As in, do you have something such as a patent? Because that's something you have. That's something no one can take away from you. And just for the fun of it, if you're new to this, just look into the process of receiving a patent. That's not easy. It requires quite substantial effort, knowledge, and money to make it work. So if someone says, yes, we have one, you know already, they have been tested, they've been checked, someone's done their homework, someone's been able and willing to commit money into this. So it's a level of checking boxes. I just lost my pen. There's no dignified way in doing this other than continuing on the video and lifting up my pen and pretending it was part of it. But this is something, what I always like saying is, if stuff goes wrong, improvise, adapt, overcome it. I've never had a pitch, a keynote, a presentation ever before where something has not gone wrong. And it's the most normal thing in the world, unless you make an absolute mess out of it. Now, you're saying, why don't you edit it? I've kind of created this rule for me on this channel that I do everything in one take and one take only, because that's the most authentic way of creating content. I believe in it. So there you go. Watch me pick up the pen while I'm listening to the next part. There we go.
Will Sarah Davies, who has previously invested in plantable seed books, be similarly impressed?
This is brilliant. I mean, I'm
thank
sure
you.
it won't surprise you to hear. I absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely to hear.
Since
Look at
I
the pressure
invested
it's
in
going
Wilsaw
off.
a couple of years ago, I've really got into this market.
Yeah.
I think especially during the pandemic and the lockdown, so many people have just really got into this.
Yeah.
So what's the...
Just look at the faces. Stephen, not impressed. Sarah Davies, absolutely impressed. Do your homework before and understand who are investors who would invest in you and who are investors who would never invest. With that, I'm saying you have an incredible software solution, but you know, the investor who's listening, she just always invests in hardware. So it's okay. You will get negative feedback because it's just not her investment angle. But if there's someone who's invested in your field and you don't know that because you didn't do your homework, that's very embarrassing. So always treat the audience with the utmost level of respect and professionalism, that you are prepared, that you know whom you're talking to. There's nothing worse than not knowing whom you're actually talking to.
growth plan?
So we've launched the website last week, and we're just literally starting to move on some of the traffic on the website. So we've got a kids product, which is on the table there. So we have a license agreement at the moment with Hasbro, and that's for Peppa Pig licensing. We're talking to Target, Walmart, Wayfair, QVC. So we're actually talking to some of the biggest customers in the world, really.
Excellent. Hey, it's all sounding great so far.
I must be missing something here. I'm like, I must have missed something in the presentation, because is this a seed in a piece of cardboard?
Yeah.
Essentially, yes.
And I'm like I'm really surprised that like loads of people are buying it, because I thought, in my head I was thinking, well, if I wanted to go and plant some tomatoes, I'd go buy some tomato seeds and put them in the ground. Is it a bit of a gimmick?
I don't think so. I mean, in terms of our customer base, you know, we feel that we're quite disruptive in the market, especially particularly with the online, you know, through the post to a younger audience. Also, small space gardening is now a huge thing, and so, you know, balcony gardens and things like that, it just makes it so much easier.
Easier than a seed, just getting the seeds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, you don't have to worry about depth or the amount of water. You don't have to worry about frost or pests. You know, it goes in the ground, absorbs all the moisture, feeds it directly to the seed, and as it all mulches around the seed, it actually feeds the seed as well.
Right.
That was a great part of dialogue. So be aware and think about it. What are questions you might get during a Q&A phase? And there will be questions that are critical, not in a negative way, just critical questions, because at the end of the day, people are curious to understand, is this where's my money? And how does this actually work? And why does it work? And are you actually really sure? And just try and come up with smart answers before. And the question Stephen just asked was absolutely perfect. Something else I asked myself initially as well, just looking at their product. But then the answer Dan gave was an answer he had planned, he had prepared, and although his ears were a little red because it's an unpleasant question, which is a normal thing to get, he calmly answered in a very, very profound and smart way, explaining why this is done that way and for whom it is. And at the end of the day also, if you're doing something new for a specific target group, where a different target group might say, that's not mine, it makes sense to use other markets which have proven that products like this work. I'll just give you an example. Imagine you were to pitch this and you say, well, look, it's a bit like I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but it's like a ready-made pizza. There are people that just want to take a pizza, put it in the oven, warm it up and eat it. And then there are people who want to buy flour and buy eggs and buy all the ingredients and make every element by hand because they're willing and able to do. And then again, there's other people who just want to have a highly convenient, ready-made product where you just go like, put it in, press the button, wait, and you're done. And this is something that can also make perfect sense. And in this context, it's a super simple, carefree product, which is great for kids because it's not about having a garden. It's not about having loads of knowledge and time. But quite frankly, it's about probably more about actually seeing the result of having this plant grow than the preparation. And that was well answered by Dan. And again, sometimes if something's new for your audience, give them a different industry, a different vertical, a different era to show that something like that has worked before, just to get them off the initial instinct.
Dan tries to convince a skeptical Stephen Bartlett his product has the edge over traditional seeds. Now, a retail-savvy Tuka Suleiman is keen to explore his current routes to market.
So talk about Asda for a second. And how big was that order?
So that was £165,000
When did you first ship your first goods to Asda?
this year,
When this year?
February.
How many times have you repeated?
We haven't yet. It was a large order. So
Yeah, but I know, but normally, if something sells very well, they'll soon come back for repeats. You're turning over 335,000. So 50% of your turnover this year was Asda. So if Asda don't come back, you've lost 50% of your turnover. So at the moment, there's a risk.
Yeah, if you haven't had feedback now after this period of time, I can tell you that their level of interest has waned. Have you asked them for the sellout of how you're doing against traditional seeds and how your product is selling in the competition?
not yet, no.
But why? You've been in there since February. You've had many, many months to ask the most important question. How am I doing against my competition? And am I outselling the seed packets?
This is why I need a dragon. You know, we've got into the supermarkets, but
But no,
we're not
Dan,
experienced in dealing with
Dan, that's not a dragon. A dragon can't teach you common sense. That's not a dragon's roll. But it's a really key question.
Yeah.
You know, what's your rate of sale in each store at the moment per week?
I don't know, Pete, I'm afraid.
Just going in here. Again, you always pitch the product, and the product is great, but at the end of the day, specifically with investors, the product is just something. It could be anything, like unless there's like a real common connection due to a passion project. You might recall a couple of weeks ago we had something with a van. If not, here's the link. But if it's not the case, and it rarely is in that form, investors want to mitigate their risk. They want to understand how big is the market, how big is the reward, how big is the risk, and how big is the invest. And with risk, you want to understand how able are the entrepreneurs, not the product designers, the entrepreneurs, to build a company around this product to deliver it. And key of building a company is sales, sales, sales. Look, you can be the brightest person in the world, but if no one buys your product, no one cares. And sales is the hardest part of building companies. It's the most brutal part. And I think it's the most rewarding part, to be honest. But you want to be on there. You want to see this. You want to get a feeling for this. And you want to have an entrepreneur in whom you're investing who gives you that very feeling that they are fully capable and in command of that process. And right now, Dan is showing us that he's very good at putting seeds in the bag, but not very good at actually making sure his cash bags are filled. Yeah, that was a little bit over the edge, wasn't it? But you get the idea. So give people the understanding you are fully in line with your sales process. You're on top of it.
You speak to a lot of business people and they're checking the numbers every single day.
Yeah.
That would be me.
You know, every single morning I get a phone from Tuka, and as much as I love to hear from him, he just tells me, my rate of sale today on this line, that line.
Yeah.
And then I tell him what my rate of sale is across my business. You've got to, if you're not all over it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll take that on board.
Have you had any more supermarkets approach you? Have you approached anybody else who are interested?
We were talking to a few supermarkets, but we have a 2 years exclusivity with Asda as our first supermarket. They just asked us.
Did you see? No, that side. There, I'll never get it worked out. I've got another 100 videos to go. Did you see Deborah Meaden's eyes? It was a small flash in her eyes when he said we have a 2-year exclusivity, and she was like, dude, you're effed. Exclusive deals are really hard. I mean, they're great if things work out, but exclusivity, that's such a hard word. I'm sorry. Exclusivity. Now I got it. Exclusivity is an absolute neck breaker, a back breaker for anyone, because, well, they've essentially got you by the, well, you know where, and you can't move. And if things go well, good for you, but you still can't expand. And if things do not go well, you're dead. You're dead in the water. And I'm pretty sure, without knowing what Deborah Meaden is about to say, I'm pretty sure that's what she thought. Do not go exclusive. Unless you have the most extremes of deals, and that really puts you also in control, where it's obvious that you can deliver and obvious that you get a lot of rewards if you have specific delivers and exit clause and I don't know what. But it's just, you just hurt yourself. Don't do it.
Not to approach anyone else for 2 years, and we agreed.
Okay, and when did that get agreed?
It would have been probably earlier this year when we first pitched them.
Also, the answer, it would have been probably, you want to say it was the 15th of January, and we have another blah, blah, blah month to go, but we have an exit clause on, and if that number is not hit, you want to protect yourself. And for me as CEO, the biggest job in your company is to protect your company. And that's something you have to do. It's something you have to negotiate. If things go bad, that you are able to protect your company and not just sit there and wait to die. Good moment where I pause it to get this fella's face and going like,
Because that just cuts off the whole of retail now in this country.
Sorry, it's just for the major 4 supermarkets.
Well, yeah,
that's substantial.
It's big, isn't it?
Dragon Delving has revealed that when it comes to retail, Dan's options for increasing sales are severely restricted. Will Tuka Suleiman see sufficient potential for future growth to make this young entrepreneur an offer?
You've got a great idea. However, I would doubt your business acumen. And I'll tell you why. 50% of your business is for one channel, and you've not answered a single question regarding that 50% of turnover. So, with all the credibility that you walked in at the beginning, unfortunately, you've not convinced me, and I know a little bit about retail, and I've already seen the warning signs of where you're at. This is not investable, and I'm out.
Disappointment for Dan, who has lost his first dragon. Stephen Bartlett identified an opportunity for Dan to supersize seed sales online. So is he prepared to plough his cash into this veg-growing venture?
Do you know what it is? You're really, I actually think you're really impressive, and you're very, very thoughtful. So this feels, for me, as someone that's got a little bit of experience in planting and grew up planting stuff in our garden when we were younger, feels like an additional step.
Yeah.
One that in some ways actually separates me from the naturalness of holding a seed, seeing the seed, understanding the seed, and putting it in the ground. Here I'm holding a piece of cardboard and putting some cardboard in the ground. And I don't know if I love that as an alternative. So, for the reasons I've stated, I'm going to say that I'm out, but I wish you the very best.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, Stephen doesn't see it, and Stephen likes the traditional way, so it appeals to him, and he cannot understand that there's others who might see it differently, or at least he doesn't see it as something which he feels, and that's perfectly fine. I like it the way he kind of explains why it doesn't make sense. At the same time, it was interesting to observe Peter Jones, because I had this feeling that Peter Jones seems to learn a lot from Stephen, and that Stephen sometimes brings aspects into the room that Peter Jones wouldn't see in that form, just by the way his face responds. It's quite interesting.
Dan, I think you've got so much right with the business. I really do. And I can't compliment you anymore. You've had a lot of compliments about the way you've put this together. And I don't think that you're thinking the wrong things, because you're moving down an avenue where you've gone with Hasbro. I think that could be your play, because parents will gift this for their kids. They get a lovely pack like this. That's a gift pack to the kids that come forward, and that gets them really engaged. But I still believe you're going to have a really good business, but it's not going to be big enough. You're going to be sowing a lot of seeds for a long time to make a return on your money. And I think that, for me, just is the reason why I'm going to say that I'm out.
I think you're going to have a good business, but I think it's got its limits. I think it's going to become a gifting style product. But its return rate, or its growth, is going to rely on you constantly coming up with a new product, which I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
But goodness me, that's going to be a hell of a wheel to get yourself on and keep going. So I won't be investing. I'm out.
I mean, just to explain, I mean, again, it's if you put 100K, just for the fun of it, he's looking for 80K. So if you put 80K into a project, the dragons are calculating how likely is it that this doesn't work? And they'll have a probability to it. And then they'll say, okay, but how much would I like to get in return that this excites me? Is it the double? Is it 5x? Is it 10x? Is it 100x? And if there's like a big number to it, where you go like, so I put 80K in, there's a 4 out of 5 chance it doesn't work. But if I put 80K in, I might get, let's say 800. Let's say we get 4 million back in 8 years. You're like, yes, that's fun. If you put 80K in and go like, hey, with a bit of luck, in 10 years, I might get 100K back. And again, it's not bad, it's not good, but it's just the way these types of people invest. The higher the returns, the higher the risk one is willing and able to go. And the lower the returns, the lower the risk. And if the risk is too high, one doesn't do it. And that's what you're trying to show in the pitch.
4 dragons have now walked away from the deal. Dan's hopes of securing the cash and capability his company craves now lie solely with Sarah Davies.
Dan,
Hi, Sarah.
so it's just me. It's tough in the den, isn't it?
It's hard work, yeah.
I like her style.
You are faring really well. I feel for you. You're taking a bit of a batter in there.
Thank you.
Okay, doesn't mean I'm going to go easy on you, though. I'm just
right,
telling you I
okay.
feel for you a little bit. I think you've got a great business.
Yeah.
I think some of the other dragons haven't maybe understood it.
Okay.
I feel like I can totally exactly see what you're doing. It's not actually that dissimilar to the craft market. I've written down here, making gardening accessible. It's missed a generation. A lot of people don't know where to start, whether it's doing it with their kids or whether it's just starting their own window box. I know so many people who fit that bill, and it's exactly what we do in the crafting market. And I'm familiar with the space, and you're on the doorstep, but you know, it's just...
Which is always handy.
To be honest, the only thing I don't really like is the valuation that you've put on this. But I can change that. So I'm going to make you an offer.
Okay.
And I will offer you all of the money, all 80,000, but I would like to take 20% of the business.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you letting me know. It's great. Obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't sort of negotiate at some point.
I'll point out to you the situation you're in.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm holding all the aces, you've got none.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that negotiation.
I mean, just for the fun of it, that was like, right in the snotter. Can we negotiate? No. Classy. I mean, if you want to negotiate, come up with a substantially legit offer. And you can only do that if you've gone through the scenarios in your head before, such as saying, okay, gladly, would it be acceptable for you that we return to the initial 10% once I have earned 5x of your initial investment within the next 3 years? Something like that, you know, where people are like, okay, that sounds like fun, because if you don't deliver, well, no fun. Or you kind of break it down like that. But just saying, hey, are you open to negotiate? And of course not. So what are you going to do, Sunshine? If you want to negotiate, put yourself in the right position to negotiate, and not stand in the corner, you know, with no weapons in your hand and saying, I'm not going to go down there.
In that case, I'd love to accept your offer.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
That's the right answer.
Well then, good luck. Thanks, Peter.
Well done.
Well done, mate.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Dan has played his cards right.
Thanks.
He leaves the den with £80,000 and the backing of a dragon with the expertise to ensure his company's salad days still lie ahead.
In all honesty, after the first dragon said they were out, I did sort of start to panic, but I could sort of see a bit of a glint in Zara's eyes.
I decided, 10 minutes into that pitch, I decided I'm having that one. And if I have to, I'll fight them all up for it.
Zara's already in that market. She knows the market. She knows the product. So I'm really excited to see what she'll bring to the business.
That was a really good seed investment.
I was waiting for the puns coming in.
That was a good seed investment. Yeah, it was an obvious pun. But here it is. I mean, if we want to summarize that pitch, it's, I think, half of the dragons fail to understand what it's actually they're buying. They're not buying a seed in a bit of cardboard, but they are buying a fully new market of making gardening accessible to those who have no access to it, of planting a seed of love within in the little ones who would never see how it feels if a plant grows. And by that, you know, you're not always selling the direct result of a product. Sometimes it's the indirect result. Think about, I don't know what, washing powder. Do people actually buy washing powder, or do they buy the result, clean clothes? I think most people wouldn't care about their Oxos or Ariels or whatever they're called, but quite frankly, they just want clean clothes. So understand what it is you're actually selling. Are you selling the washing stuff, or are you selling the clean clothes? In that sense, thank you very much for listening, for being part of this, and If you haven't yet, a like makes me happy. A subscription makes me even happier. And if you don't want to miss new videos, hit the bell button. In that sense, thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and see you next time.